Hello, and welcome to Irrational Fear's presentation of Superscrapers. What is Superscrapers, you might ask? It is a casual real-time strategy game on the mobile platform that has a focus on gathering of resources while building your city, with friendly competition through weekly tournaments trying to climb to the top of the leaderboard. Our intent as the designers was to create an easy-to-learn, fun mobile game for the casual gamer on both iOS and Android, with a key demographic focusing on ages 9 to 21. The game will be based around the management of resources as you build your city, working through weekly tournaments trying to climb that competitive leaderboard. Collecting resources is the main source of player growth in Superscrapers. Buildings spawn resources based on a timer. For instance, a certain building may spawn so many resources for the player to collect every 10 minutes. The resources a building produces will not be gained until the player taps the building on the touchscreen to collect it. Superscrapers will have many mechanics based on a timer. The one that takes center stage in the game will be the weekly tournaments that the player will be able to participate in. Each week, the timer will start off at the 7-day mark and will count down each day until the time runs out, ending the tournament for that week. In order to collect resources, resource buildings will have to be built first. There are many types of buildings, and each type will have a different time frame to build them in. Resource collection times will vary based on resource type as well. Resource buildings will be able to produce more resources in less time as the building is leveled up. Commanding a harvester unit is also important to the player. Players will command their harvester to leave the city and go gather a bonus set of resources. The harvester will only be available once the player has used the resources to build it, and is also only available once every 30 seconds. Now, the player must command the harvester to go gather the bonus. Once the player has done so, the harvester will play autonomously to go gather the bonus and bring it back to the city. Consumption of resources will facilitate the creation of buildings and other structures to better the city. By building the various types of buildings, the player can produce more resources in a shorter amount of time. The player can also choose to spend resources on a harvester unit used to gather bonus resources from outside the city. Now, you cannot produce increasing numbers of resources if you do not first build the units that will produce them. This is where the create mechanic comes in, and it's what allows the player to choose a location, choose a unit, and ultimately create or build that unit to progress in the game. The player's rank on the leaderboard will ultimately reflect how efficiently they were at using their resources to create the units in their city. Investing in a police force and fire protection can help prepare and defend your city from crime and fire hazards. Weather hazards will also be present, which will need to be planned for because your citizens can die if weather conditions are too harsh. Now, this will be able to be done by creating a defensive barrier in strategic areas of your city to help prepare for possible hazards, such as a guard tower on a roadway coming into the city, or a barrier between the city and a river that may overflow its banks. Now, the look and feel of Superscrapers is that of a top-down strategy game with a simple artistic style, so the gamers are not drawn just for flashy visuals, but for engaging gameplay. The player will start out with a town hall, as this is the central hub of their city. As they progress, their city will become inhabited by more citizens and will contain more building-producing resources. By the end of the tournament, the player's city will be a bustling metropolis. In our game space, there is much competition. Civilization 5 is similar to Superscrapers in that both are focusing on growing your city as large as possible, but Civilization 5 is focused on player versus player combat, where Superscrapers is focusing on friendly competition through a leaderboard. Farmville 2 is also similar in that you must produce and then gather resources to grow your farm, but we differ in that Superscrapers is focusing on an entire city and the needs of its citizens, not just a single farm. Lastly, we are in competition with the SimCity franchise. SimCity is a very in-depth game that could be difficult to play on the go, whereas Superscrapers is designed around several quick interactions with the game throughout the day to keep a player climbing to the top of the leaderboard. We thank you so much for your time and listening to our presentation today. Team Irrational Fear looks forward to getting Superscrapers in the hands of players everywhere soon.